Just giving a quick overview of the Saphira platform and how it can help you build a safety case for your robotic system. So here we're looking at the Saphira platform. I'll start by creating a project in Saphira. I'll call this safety case for robotic system, and I'll go ahead and actually select that this is a robotics project. So we have some out-of-the-box configuration that allows you to easily develop and build the safety case for a robotic system based on a simple checklist. In this case, we'll select that the robot has safety-related control systems. And when we click Add Project, in the background, our AI agent will actually go through, select the use cases and templates that are most pertinent to building out the safety case here, and actually pre-populate that for you as we move forward. This will take a second here to load, but upon this new project being created, we'll see some of the outputs that we got out of the box. These are meant to be boilerplate kind of placeholders that are updated and refined as the system is developed, and we'll see here shortly what this looks like. In the meantime, I'll talk about the next step of this while this is being developed, which is there are now two safety cases that have been built out here, which is fairly generic, but that's component failure and software validation and verification. Since these were built out, actually with our system, we link these to the most relevant regulatory documents. We can now actually see that we've linked the norm, so the regulatory standard from ISO, that's the most relevant to this kind of a safety case, along with the clause on the page that this is from, the sections, the subsections, the categories as well. And we've actually done this automatically on our back end via our agent. And here we've done the same thing actually. And now I'll actually import a real safety case that companies will develop as they're going through their robotic life cycle. And we'll import this here. And we'll see that in this case, this is just meant to be a high-level overview of the hazard along with the control measures. And so in this case, these control measures are not do not have any sort of citations, are not linked to any sort of regulatory standard. And so in the background, our agent is actually doing the same thing here now. It's taking these control measures, it's taking these hazards, it's matching them up to the most clear value that needs to be linked to. And we'll see here once all this is processed, and we can actually switch to a different tab and see what is going on while this is being processed here, which is that new safety cases have now been created. And in the same way, we've now linked the regulatory outputs that are most relevant to the safety case back to the system. I'll show what this actually looks like manually here in a second. We'll go ahead and create a safety case for power supply failure, where we'll actually see that upon creating this power supply failure safety case, the requirement safety case here will actually not have any regulatory or citation from a standard link to it. We actually see in our sidebar, we can build this out in real time, which is that we can now go to this power supply failure safety case. We see that the regulatory outputs are blank. So upon clicking context, we can fetch the context from the regulatory documents we've identified on our backend as being most relevant to this project, and then in real time build this safety case as we go through here. This will take a second as our model populates this output, and we'll actually see this is the ISO 13849 standard and clause 7.2.2 being the most relevant to preventing power supply failures. When we click Save Identified Answer, we can link this here to the Regulatory Outputs tab and see that this is all built out in real time. So this is a high-level overview of being able to import a safety case, having some checklist functionality built out of the box for ensuring that your robotic system is safety compliant, and using the Saphira platform as an end-to-end mechanism to build this case out.
Now that we are in the robotic safety case project, we can navigate over to Saphira GPT for the main thing we'd like to show today, which is the ability to traverse hierarchical documents like standards to find exactly the answers you are looking for. So we pre-populate based on the standards that you've already identified for this project in the context store, in this case just ISO 13849, the machine safety requirement standard, that here are some questions that you can actually click and automatically run. So for example, let's retrieve some key safety requirements. And what this is doing in the background is it's piecing apart the standard. It's looking for exactly the related sections. And then it's traversing any section references to find hierarchically what all the relevant pieces are. And for example, this is particularly important if you actually have several standards referenced, because for example, many safety cases might not just be ISO 13849. You may actually use 13849 as a partial framework for a case you build primarily on top of IEC 61508, the global, the macro safety standard. Cool. So here we got some specific details regarding identification of safety functions and safety-related SOP functions, and some key points regarding what we actually need to look at, such as response time, safety-related parameters, and power source management. There we go. We can even click in and get navigated over to exactly the page that we're pulling this information from. In the next demo that we'll present, we'll actually show you, as we see here, retrieval of specific tables that you can actually utilize when constructing the evidence that you need that you'll relay out to an auditor. So please feel free to log into Saphira, create any new projects, upload any documents to the context store. This may not even be anything related to robots or your particular project. It, in fact, can be any sort of structured document. And try out our system to answer your questions, to compose your tabular outputs, and let us know how it goes. Thanks.